Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day, there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to be having so much fun because we're going to be talking about how to do creative strategies to build your business. One of those things that people all go, oh yeah, I know how to do that. And virtually nobody does. And so please join me in welcoming Lauren Schwartz to our program today. Welcome, Lauren. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me, Deb. I'm very excited to be on the show. So thank you for having me.
Great. We're going to have such a fun conversation. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into it. So Lauren Schwartz is a thought leader in creating profitable creative strategies for e-commerce brands. And she is also a design professional with over 16 years of experience in the digital space. Her passions lie in creating top performing ad creatives. She has personally led the creative strategy for top brands such as Talentless, Obvi, Autobrush, and many more. Lauren is obsessed with design and creative strategy, and in her downtime, she enjoys teaching others her profitable creative methodology, focusing on DTC advertising, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. She has spoken at Ad World Conference in, get this, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. So again, Lauren, welcome to our program.
Thank you. That's a mouthful for sure.
I know. I could have just said 2020 through 2024, but it's not as impressive, right? Yeah. And that is sometimes part of what makes something creative is how do you highlight things? But one of the things I didn't say in your bio is that you have founded your own agency. So
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually come from a design background.
Okay.
I've been designing, like I said, for 16 years. Started really working in the apparel space, actually. Designing for clothing brands, and really, wanted to focus heavily on the social media digital aspect. So from there, I went from, apparel to email marketing, landing pages, social media, and really started to find my love when I started working at an agency. So I was a designer at an agency, obviously really loved working on that side. Really like to understand the overall strategy of like how things actually work and what gets people to buy. And so from there, I, had started working at a couple agencies and decided that, I was going to really heavily focus on creative and 4 years ago, stepped out and decided to build my own creative agency. So that's where I started.
Very cool. And it is called the Loft 325.
Yes.
Very cool. So first of all, what do you mean when you say creative?
Yeah, so it's funny because creative obviously can be many different things. Within the D2C space and performance marketing, it's the ads you see, obviously. So what gets people to click? Is it the hook that's getting people to click? That's usually the first 3 seconds of a video. Is it the copy in the creative? So is it, copy that's on a static? Or is it just like the overall concept? What exactly are you trying to convey to the audience? With all of that, that's all creative. It's basically just sharing how I'm going to get someone to understand what my brand is, understand what my product is, and how do I get them to my website to click and buy.
Right.
So that's essentially what I mean when I say creative.
I love it. And I've been in this world for probably longer than you've been alive, working on these things. And I am just always stunned at both the successes and the failures. One of the ones that has always blown me away is who the heck came up with Budweiser with Clydesdales and a dog, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine going into that meeting and saying, I want to focus on horses? And they're like, no, we do beer. But I want to focus on, no, we do beer. But I want, and then when they ran them and people were like, oh my God, you know, and it's really funny because us, yeah, they're moving kegs of beer around, but other than that, that has nothing to do with what they sell, which is counterintuitive, right? Most of the time when we have good creative, we're not at the end going, now, what was it? What were they selling? But I mean, part of that too is Budweiser has been doing this for many, many years. And I think those are the ones that we see though that fail are the ones that are cute. They're, and we see those around that thing called Super Bowl, right? Where they're spending millions of dollars and you watch and you go, I have absolutely no idea what that company was or what they were selling or anything. So why is it so important that we're not just cute?
Yeah, I mean, again, like it's so funny that you actually bring that up because again, like I think especially in D2C and e-commerce, it's funny because creative is so important. And it's interesting that now, like ever since COVID, it seems like we've kind of shifted that mindset of, it went to, oh, it's only media buying. We just need to focus on the media buying and how things are, put into the ad account. But then after iOS 14 update and COVID, it just, now it's all about creative. And I think, the biggest thing is that people, that's what you see first is the creative. You see, it's you're getting that emotion, you're getting that why is this important? You're explaining it. And obviously it has so much to do with creative. And so, taking the tactics of like what you've seen in commercials and why has that resonated with you? I think it kind of is going back to that old mentality of like, you still need to entertain and you still need to be informative
You're telling
about
the story.
Exactly. And so I think we kind of had missed that a little bit at the beginning with like media buying and Meta and Facebook and all that stuff. And I think people are now starting to come back to that of, okay, yeah, we actually need to tell a story. We need to be authentic with what we're sharing. So I think that's kind of where things have shifted back to creative is important and creative is what you see first. So yeah, I mean, I think it just kind of goes back to, it seems like you said, like it seems counterintuitive, but at the same time, it's like, it also is kind of like a duh moment. Like why have we not focused on this from the beginning? But I mean, I'm glad it's gone back to that because it definitely gets you to be more, you think more about like thinking outside the box, thinking more of like, how can I get people to actually stop and look at what I'm actually sharing?
Right. And unless you're a Fortune 100, you have to watch your budget and they have to watch their budget too, or they wouldn't have been a Fortune 100. And so I think that's what is so important is, whether you have $1 billion budget or $100, right? You have got to absolutely figure out what it is. And so tell us, this isn't just willy-nilly, you have to have a strategy. So if somebody comes to you with a brand new project, walk us through what you tell them.
Sorry about that.
We always have critters and things that go through. I have a brand new cat that we just got over the weekend and she's not happy that she's shut out.
Yeah, sorry. She was literally downstairs, but yeah, so that's that's kind of the biggest thing is that the first thing I always tell clients is that a lot of people they don't really understand why their organic social is so important. And I think, kind of the first thing, especially with a new brand, is that you need to make sure that you're understanding the presence and who you're selling to. And firstly, I always say like organic is your first. You need to start testing with your organic social because again, you don't have to put a budget towards that. It's just, you can
your
share
time, but
exactly. Yeah, your time. Yes. But it's not, you don't have to have this large budget where once you kind of start understanding that, you can kind of start to see, who's your audience, who's my demographic, who am I selling to? From there, as you kind of start to build that, you can start to build into your strategy. So when a client comes to us, again, the first thing we do is we do a deep dive of who's their target audience, what is their brand about, who are we trying to, share this information with, and really just do a deep dive creative analysis of, who is your target audience. Who is your target audience? I think from there, after you kind of figure out who that demographic is, then we can start to build on that strategy of, okay, what do we need? What types of creative, what types of copy do we need to get to this specific audience so that we can start to develop a strategy around these different demographics. So really that's kind of how we start, is just really doing a deep dive of, their overall brand and who exactly we need to market to. And then how are we going to take the messaging that we need to target to specifically speak to these people.
Right. One of the things that I have found the most over the years is that the sad truth is many people have absolutely no idea who they're trying to reach, or it is so broad that they're wasting money. I've shared this on the program before, where we were at a networking thing and this woman sold skincare products. And we said, okay, who are you trying to reach? And she said, everyone. Right? Because we all have skin. I mean, that was kind of but we all went, yeah. And so we worked with her. And the next time she went, she says, okay, I represent whatever company. I focus on providing skincare products for teenage boys who have acne. Every single one of us went, know somebody. Right.
Exactly.
And now could she sell to anybody? Sure. And she did. But, she also said, but, oh my God, what if I miss? No, she's not going to miss those other people, because if they thought, oh, well, I'm an adult with acne, or this can help with something else, whatever, they're going to go to her. But her big thought was, I'm going to eliminate people. Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes that elimination is a good thing.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's so interesting too, because again, a lot of times we'll have clients that come to us and they say that, oh, well, we sell to everything. Like you said, like a skincare brand, it's, everyone has skin, but again, you're targeting different areas of skin. You're targeting different, applications. Like what exactly is wrong with the skin?
Yeah. Is it acne? Is it dry? Is it old? Is it, I like the crepey skin commercials.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like at that point, it's like, not everybody has crepey skin and,
but the ones who do are like, I need something.
Exactly. And no matter where you are, someone will have a specific need and you will target a specific niche. And that's okay to be niched within the products that you're selling, because like you said, yes, you want to sell to those specific people, but you're still going to get the product out there to other people. And, it's that targeting that you do that will make sure that you reach your audience, but then you can also still target other people that have other, issues. So I think, definitely people who focus on their demographic is very important. And that's always something too, that we make sure that we hone in on, is that yes, I understand that you want to reach other people and new audiences, but you still need to focus on the people that actually need your product, because those are going to be the repeat buyers, your LTV, get higher AOV, all those things. So yeah, I definitely think it's okay to target the people that you need to target.
Oh yeah. And we've all seen ads, wherever it is, where it's like, I am not that demographic. Yeah. And so then I think they just wasted their money, right? Depending on what it is. I like it, I marvel about, say I'm watching TV at 10 o'clock at night and a commercial for a children's toy comes on. Now I'm not watching Nickelodeon or anything like that. I mean, I'm watching, and I'm thinking, okay, some person selling ads gave them a discount. And the problem is the kid needs to be watching it to go, mommy, buy me that. Yeah. And so, they totally lost all of that money that they invested because they're not going to get the mommies.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny too, because you think about that and you're like, okay, maybe the thought process is they're trying to target a parent who is watching something late at night. But again, like you said, the person who you're actually trying to reach is the kid who's like, mommy, I want that. Because a mom or, whoever is watching it is going to be like, nope, click. I just want to get back to my show.
Yeah. Click. Yeah. It's not, that looks like a fun, inspirational toy for my child to have.
Exactly.
I'm like, you interrupted Grey's Anatomy.
Exactly. This is me.
And then I might be annoyed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But well, and then we've all seen examples where it's like that. No, not good at all. And I think that's probably the biggest issue is the creative, right?
Mhm.
I am not a creative person, and I am in awe when somebody is creative. And I look at an ad, whether it's print, video, whatever, and I go, holy schmoly. And so, so I'm smart enough to hire somebody else to do it or use AI. Ooh, I've started using that. I like AI.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the hard part. So how do you find and get those creative juices going to really have something that is going to capture people's attention?
Yeah, definitely. So it's funny because it's weird. Like I love doing this. So
Mhm.
to me, sometimes it's kind of like a game because it's
Mhm.
like, okay,
Mhm.
how can I get someone to click?
Mhm.
I've been doing this for so long
Right.
that, it's like I can look at something and be like,
Mhm.
okay, yes, like we can do
Mhm.
this and it'll
Mhm.
perform
Mhm.
just with data that we have.
Right.
But other people who obviously don't have those
Mhm.
creative juices, I think a lot of times it's look for inspiration.
Mhm.
Like who are you trying to target?
Mhm.
I do tell our clients, when you click on or when you see an ad and it did stop you, why
Mhm.
did it stop you?
Mhm.
Was it the creative? Was it the
Mhm.
copy? Take a step back and just think to yourself, like as a consumer, how, as I'm scrolling through
Mhm.
my feed or as I'm looking at something, like what exactly made me
Mhm.
want to stop and actually
Right.
look at that information
Mhm.
to like click through and go to their
Mhm.
website. From there, you have to, you have to take the owner hat off
Mhm.
and you have to think of a consumer and
Mhm.
what is going to get them to purchase,
Mhm.
what is going to get them to buy. And I think a lot of times people within that realm, they are so focused on their own brand. They're so focused on getting those people
Mhm.
to, to purchase their product
Right.
that
I
they don't
know
actually
why they should buy it, darn it.
exactly. And so, but you have to think like a lot of times, people are scrolling through their
Mhm.
feeds so fast that you kind of have to slow it down for them and you have to explain things
Mhm.
as like you're explaining something to a
Mhm.
child,
Right.
your brand really well, but
Mhm.
nobody else knows who
Mhm.
you are. You're just another person on
Mhm.
their feed that they want to get past.
Mhm.
So take yourself out of that situation and really focus on
Mhm.
why I'm getting someone
Right.
to, purchase this product.
Mhm.
So I always tell our clients, like, you have to step outside of your comfort zone and really just make sure that you're focusing on
Mhm.
those other things. But getting into that creative
Mhm.
juices, it's just making sure that you're looking at other brands, you're just seeing what gets people to click,
Mhm.
what gets you to stop. And then from there, just taking note of that
Mhm.
and then figuring out how I can apply that
Mhm.
to my own brand.
Right. Right. And in many cases, it really is the keep it simple process.
Exactly.
If somebody looks at it and goes, huh?
Right.
They're going to go on to the next thing, right?
Yes.
Because not only are they going on to the next thing, it's gone on for us.
Yes.
We're on the next page, we're on the next whatever. There's, I watch a lot of late night TV, and there's a company running ads right now that the ad does not say what the product is or does. Now, all of the people in the ad are these very pretty women, young women, right? And and so from what they're saying, you kind of get the idea of what it is that they're talking about. And but nowhere does it say, hey, this helps men in bed. I mean, just
Right.
and and now obviously that's not my I'm not in that demographic, but I do think how many times have people seen that and gone, I don't know what that is, and just gone on to the next thing.
Yeah. And I mean, again, that happens all the
Mhm.
time.
Right.
And that's something that,
Mhm.
as we do our audits and
Mhm.
we look through everything,
Mhm.
I put on my consumer hat
Mhm.
and I look
Right.
at all the ads and I
Mhm.
say, okay, well, I understand what your copy
Mhm.
says, but again, I don't understand what it does for
Right.
me. And
Mhm.
as a consumer, the only thing I want to know is how is it going to benefit me? And
Mhm.
if it doesn't benefit me, then
Right.
I'm going to just click to the
Yeah.
next thing.
Mhm.
So, like you said, it's very much taking a step back and really explaining
Mhm.
things to someone. Again,
Mhm.
I always use the analogy of like explaining it to a child because
Mhm.
if you can explain it to a child,
Mhm.
people are going to get
Right.
it.
Right.
You know, it's like, it's
Mhm.
very easy. It's not
Mhm.
it's not complex. Again, if you're selling a skincare brand,
Mhm.
just point out the things that you
Mhm.
need to
Yeah.
share.
You're
And
not going to have icky red spots.
exactly. Like,
Yeah.
and you know, it's like, I'm that person that has those icky
Mhm.
red spots. So
Mhm.
great. Like, give me that
Right.
product. So
Mhm.
it's just very much, you have to just dumb it down a
Mhm.
little bit, and you have to
Right.
just be very, very, very clear.
Mhm. Right. And it is, when we see the ads that work, that is what it is, right? They have
Yes.
said, we do this is the outcome. And in many cases, in most cases, actually, they're not saying how much it costs.
Right.
And because the idea is you're going to want it so much you don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whether it's Cheerios or those products that are going to make those young women happy. But yeah, it's, and I think that's the thing that people get caught up in too, is they have to do that. And it's funny because I was doing some ads, and the product was the way the software was working on what we were doing, the price came up first.
Okay.
And I had somebody else reviewing it, and they said, no, build that emotional need, want, desire, and then at the very end, oh, and by the way, this
Yeah.
costs, right? And or sometimes you don't even put the cost, right? You just put the buy now.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and they're going to do that because that is what we're appealing to. It's only people's emotions. And I think that
Exactly.
is so many times what people are forgetting. They're thinking, well, no, they're going to be practical. They're going to be this thing. No, it's emotions.
Yes. And now, I mean, I was reading an article the other day, even with, the Gen Z or
Mhm.
Gen X, whatever.
I'm lost.
I know. Whatever
Mhm.
gen we're in.
Uh-huh.
The biggest thing too is that those consumers
Mhm.
are, like you said, they're building off
Mhm.
that emotion. They want testimonials.
Mhm.
They want
Right.
people to share their
Mhm.
experiences. They want the before and after. Like,
Mhm.
they're actually
Mhm.
doing way more research on the
Right.
product
Mhm. Mhm.
than ever before.
Mhm.
And so building that emotional
Mhm.
connection, building that that response of,
Mhm.
that community that they
Right.
need, that
Mhm.
is so important. And I think,
Mhm.
old school marketing
Mhm.
is very much like you said, like, here's the product,
Mhm.
here's how much it costs, now you buy.
The
And it's like,
five
no.
P's or whatever all of those things
Right,
were. Mhm.
exactly.
Mhm.
It's like, marketing's different now, and
Mhm.
it's very much like building that
Mhm.
emotional connection with
Mhm.
people. And I think you have to take that old school mentality
Mhm.
and kind of, throw it out the window,
Right.
because more people, they're smarter. They're
Mhm.
smarter with their
Right.
shopping. They're
Mhm.
smarter with how they're,
Mhm.
consuming information. And
Mhm.
so it's just very much like you have to build that
Mhm.
personal connection with them.
Right. Right. Yeah. Our time and our money is
Right.
limited. So we
Yes.
really are going to look for the best thing. And of course, it is much trickier now just because there's so much more.
Right.
When you used to have three different types of laundry detergent you could pick from, that wasn't too complicated. Now there's so many, and do you want good for the environment? Do you,
Yeah.
but the funny thing is, then it comes back to brand loyalty.
Right.
Right. Well, mom used to use Tide, so I'm gonna use Tide. And that's in a lot of cases what it comes back to.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because even, brand loyalty, I think it kind of went away for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it is kind of coming back
Mm-hmm.
around a little bit,
Right.
like I said, with
A little
this.
nostalgia, like you were
Yeah,
saying. Mm-hmm.
yeah, like it's, there's a lot of people where, yeah, like, my mom used this, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use this. But
Mm-hmm.
then as you kind of start to do your research a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more, you're like, okay, well, maybe I should try this.
Right.
It kind
Mm-hmm.
of depends. But I do think that, consumers now, there are some that still have
Mm-hmm.
that brand loyalty,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think there's other people where they're
Mm-hmm.
just influenced by the things that they're
Right.
seeing. And
Mm-hmm.
so again, it's hard to kind of
Mm-hmm.
make that connection of like, well,
Mm-hmm.
who do I trust?
Mm-hmm.
The only way you're going to trust something is if you kind of purchase and buy for
Right.
yourself, and then you
Right.
can go from there. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, making sure that people
Mm-hmm.
understand that there are
Mm-hmm.
these products that are beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
People do like them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the customer reviews and the
Mm-hmm.
testimonials, I always think the social proof of
Mm-hmm.
everything is so valuable,
Right.
because
Mm-hmm.
people want that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people love Amazon, one, because it's
Mm-hmm.
fast delivery, but
Mm-hmm.
there are so many
Mm-hmm.
reviews that
Right.
you can read and see
Yeah.
and see
They
like.
make it easy to do. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yes. So it's like, yeah, I'm giving you all this information, but at the end of the day, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm going to read these reviews and I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to trust these
Mm-hmm.
people, then most of the time it's
Mm-hmm.
probably going to work,
Right. Right. Yeah, I did that just yesterday. I was thinking of doing one of the home meal delivery things. I've done a couple of them before, different, and for whatever reasons decided not. My neighbor said, "Ooh, here's who we use."
Yeah.
So I don't go to their website. I don't use the $50 off coupon that she sent me. I type in reviews for.
Yeah.
And right. And it was interesting because it got mixed reviews. And on most things. I mean, that was kind of the weird thing, was that they're kind of middle of the road. So I might or I might not do it. But I think that's the other thing, is people need to remember to ask people to give you those reviews.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
and we never do that, and we can make it so easy. I mean, you've got a way to scan a QR, so easy on anything. It's pretty much back to our duh moment.
Right.
So tell people, hey, I like this, I didn't like this, and if they didn't like it, fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's obviously like the easiest thing. But yeah, I mean, again, like you said, like, ask for your customers' reviews, give them, within your email marketing, give them a discount. Like, hey, we'll give you, 10% off or whatever your next order if you leave us this review. And it's things like that. It's like, even the bad reviews can still help you have good reviews. And so, even though you do have mixed reviews, then why is it a mixed review?
Right.
Like help educate those people on the mixed reviews, like give them more information. Again, like I pull, in when we are looking for new creative ideas, we pull a lot of inspiration from their bad reviews.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
obviously people gave this bad review for a reason, but if it's not necessarily, if it's something that we can elaborate on, okay, let me share this bad review and tell you why we're not this way, or why we can make it better, or whatever. It's like you learn so much from the people who actually give you those negative reviews. One, on how I can make it better, and two, like, we apparently missed this information in what we were sharing with you. So again, I always say reviews are the best thing you can do, especially for any brand.
Well, and it is so funny because when we are looking to buy whatever, I can see, 10, 20 ads for that product, that service. But I will believe some random person who I have never met far before. And because, I also know, okay, well, the company's not going to say, well, this doesn't work.
Right.
I mean, they're not going to have that in there. But yeah, and I think that's the other thing, that so many people, they just don't get the importance of word of mouth, right. Or testimonials or any of those things. And I want them to be from somebody like me.
Yes.
I tell people, I'm not going to go buy some type of lotion because Jennifer Aniston promotes it.
Right. Exactly.
For one thing, she's saying she gets it at Walgreens, right? Or something like that. I'm like, oh no, no, Jennifer Aniston is not stepping foot in Walgreens. Right. But when, and that, using some type of influencers, people like that as your spokespeople, that always has all sorts of different, things that can go along with it. But they have to be believable.
Right.
But there are some things that, if somebody says, hey, I buy, okay, fine. Because I'm thinking they're great, but there's also the other, I will never buy it because they've done that.
Yeah.
And so, influencers are kind of a tricky thing.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, I usually, like, we don't usually use the influencer marketing.
Right.
Again, I mean, obviously we have brands that do have influencers, but we really do try to focus on, is there something that questions that we can ask your audience, that we can help to, get that information from. So we do send through to some of our clients, within your email marketing, send them these questions, have them fill this out. And then from there, we can pull that information, work on new ads, share the information that we need to share. And, just get people, get your customers to give you authentic reviews, because at the end of the day, more people are going to resonate with that than, like you said, with Jennifer Aniston, who uses this.
Yeah. Well, and the biggest question is, if you didn't buy it, why not?
Exactly.
Yeah. And of course, the owner of the company, the head of the sales department, they don't want to know that.
Yeah.
Because it might be something that maybe they can't fix. Okay, so then you have a different problem. But maybe it's but we've always done it that way.
Right. And we hear that all the time. It's like, well, that's what we've done in the past. And it's like, okay, but marketing's changing.
Right.
Like we have to adapt to the things that are actually working now. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. And, and again, knowing your audience, knowing where they're supposed to be. I am not on TikTok. I do not have a TikTok account. But I'm not that demographic. And so I'm the Facebook demographic, Facebook and LinkedIn. And it's funny because I have an Instagram account simply to keep somebody else from getting it with my name. But, I'm not there. I don't ever go there. And so that is part of this, is knowing where your audience is going to be.
Right.
And it's funny because that's the other thing that I have, when I'm talking with somebody about, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. The owner, the wife, the spouse, I always love it but my wife does. I'm like, I'm sorry, your wife might be on TikTok, but the people you're selling to are 80 years old, or 10, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the other important thing.
Yeah. And it's funny too. I mean, the older demographic is getting on TikTok, but the way they're consuming it is not the same as like a, 16, 17-year-old, so it's very much, yes, they may be on it, but that doesn't mean they're consuming it the same way. So that's the other thing you have to think about too, is how is the demographic that you're trying to reach actually consuming the information? Whereas they probably are on Facebook consuming it in a way that's, they spend more time on there. They actually look through through their feeds. Whereas on, a TikTok, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm here because my, granddaughter or friend told me to get on it. And it's like, you don't consume it the same. So, it's just that the way that you consume information and how you're consuming it is something that is also what you need to think about too, when you're actually creating something. So yeah, it's definitely, it's the landscape has changed for sure. And it changes every day. And it's something that, you have to adapt to and have to just understand, especially like how you're speaking to creative. I think that's always our biggest challenge is, like I said, the way that we consume information is obviously different on every platform. So designing and thinking that through. And again, like that's where that whole strategy comes in, is if I'm, on this platform, I can give you long form. If I'm on this platform, I can give you short form. So it's just thinking about all those different things tied into everything. I think, again, that's why creative strategy is so important, is because you need that information in order to execute on.
Right. And I tell people, don't ever put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
The people who do their entire ad budget on a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah.
Now, granted, more people watch it not during the Super Bowl, right? Because we all watch it online, all those various things. And then, there is the great debate now with TikTok. And, it amazes me when people say if that goes away, my business will go away.
Right.
Okay. For one thing, that ship's going to sail. And so you need to be figuring out something else, whether we still have TikTok or not. Never put everything there, especially when it's not yours. I don't understand people who say, oh, I don't need a website. No.
Yeah, that's like a huge red flag.
Or they'll say, oh, I have a Facebook page. Well, you know what? I was on vacation and got hacked. Now use for my clients, I'm the demographic I'm going after. We have Facebook pages. My account got hacked. I got shut out of it. So I could not access any of my clients' Facebook pages to do posts for them.
Right.
And so that was, catastrophic. We've obviously figured out lots of ways around that, but always have those backups, have those other plans so that if something happens, the government says, hey, that platform can't exist anymore. Fine. I'm here instead.
Right. And it's always too, I mean, again, like you said, we have so many clients who they're on Meta, but then they're like, oh, well, we got to now do TikTok because it's like the new shiny thing. And it's like, okay, that's great. But if your demographic isn't on TikTok, don't put your money there. Like invest in the platforms where your demographic is. It's fine to test. I'm all for testing.
Oh yeah. You never know.
Exactly. You never know. But I'm not going to, like double down on what's working. That's, always the biggest thing that I say is make sure you're investing in the things that are actually working. Test where you need to test, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. Definitely not.
Right. And keep abreast of what's going on. I mean, the people who are still saying, I'm going to do magazine or newspaper ads.
Yeah.
It's just, and I understand part of it is that might be the only place they can afford to do it. But if somebody who wants to buy your product isn't picking it up, it's not going to matter.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And again, I mean, and it's actually funny because we had a client who they were doing lead gen and they were actually looking at magazine ads. And I was like, okay, like you can look into it. It was actually very expensive to do a magazine ad or, like an insert. And I had to tell him, I was like, first of all, I don't think you're going to get that many people with leads that way.
Right.
I'm like, and it's actually cheaper to do it digitally because more people are on digital. It was kind of mind blowing, actually. I was like, wow, like it's actually really expensive to spend on that.
Well, nobody's buying so they've got to pay for them somehow.
Yeah.
But just kind of look at all of those things and keep abreast of what's going on. And again, figure out what is going to work best.
Right.
And ask people. I mean, that's the other thing, Lauren, what do you watch on TV? What do you all of these various things, because that's where you get your best input. Like you said, email your clients, ask them these various things, post on wherever and do, there's all sorts of ways to get this data now. There's no excuse to not have it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's funny when, you have clients who don't have that data and it's like, wait, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah.
It's very accessible now.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's really funny. What was old is back again. We direct mail is one of those that kind of pops back up every once in a while. And one of the things that I like about direct mail is now you can get so specific on who it's going to.
Yeah.
Even in certain neighborhoods and we don't get stuff in the mail. So when we do, it's like, ooh, hey, this is kind of cool, right? And until it's, later this year and we get so many political things that we don't go to our mailboxes anymore.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
but yeah, again, that's a way to look at, okay, what's a unique way to do that? I have some things on my bulletin board that are these cute pictures or whatever, and you flip it, they're an ad for somebody. But I was like, oh, hey, this is kind of cute, right?
Yeah.
And so you never know.
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, there's things that even I get in the mail. I'll say, Amazon does a great job, especially during the holidays with that booklet that they send out. It's a booklet that they send out, but man, if that thing does not get circled by my daughter, and everything she wants to buy, I'm like, this is genius, like genius marketing right there.
It's the old Sears catalog, right?
Yes.
That we used to just go through and spend hours going through and picking stuff out.
Yeah. But it works. I mean, and they only do it at that time of the year. And it's, probably like they probably get so much from that catalog.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, find out where your potential targets are and go there and go there hard.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is, how many times do they say, I can do it once? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe, but it's repetition that's going to get you more business.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
So on your website, you've got all this great content on your website, which again is the Loft325.com. You talk about user-generated content. What exactly is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, user-generated content and influencer marketing, user-generated content is content where, again, you're specifically selling to an audience. So our content creators are essentially trained to understand how to speak to an audience and get them to purchase an item.
Okay.
Whereas, so they're talking on behalf of your brand, whereas an influencer is talking on behalf of their own brand.
Right.
So the
what they've been paid to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And the influencers, again, they have their own marketing and their own strategy. And so when they are presented these products, they sell it to their audience. So it may not necessarily always be the audience that the brand
Mhm.
needs, but because they have so many followers and whatnot, they can definitely get that information.
Mhm.
So, the content creators who create the UGC specifically are selling for your brand.
Mhm.
So they want people they try to get that emotional connection.
Mhm.
They're sharing their testimonial
Mhm.
and how, it works for them. So it is very, very different in that
Mhm.
sense, is that it is more direct
Mhm.
response, whereas influencer is more just aesthetic and
Mhm.
sharing about the product, but not
Mhm.
necessarily for the brand
Mhm.
specifically. So yeah, we have content creators who work with us where, we do send them information on the product. They do test it out. They always, give us their own feedback.
Mhm.
We always have them, share authentic
Mhm.
testimonials for trying the product the
Mhm.
first time. And it is something that, again, because they never have heard of the brand, they
Mhm.
can actually give that genuine
Mhm.
testimonial of, this is the first time I'm using it.
Right.
This is what I think.
Mhm.
And, we can then kind of build off of
Mhm.
that so that we can start to build new creatives
Mhm.
for the brands that we work with.
Right. Right. And we all think we know the best way to pitch. And
Right.
the funny thing is we almost never do.
Yeah. And again, it's something where, especially with any sort of brand that you're
Mhm.
working with, the brands that we talk to, they have a very specific way that they want
Mhm.
us to talk about the product.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's like, okay, I understand that,
Mhm.
but let us do our job in
Right.
the creative
Mhm.
side to let us talk about your
Mhm.
product in a way that's very different from what you usually
Mhm.
do. That's why you hired us,
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, it's scary for brands
Mhm.
because they have this, authentic
Mhm.
brand that they've built and they're so
Mhm.
tied to it, but they're also so tied to it that they
Mhm.
don't see what they're missing. And
Mhm.
so having us come in and share like, this is
Mhm.
how we should talk about your
Mhm.
brand is a very different approach for
Mhm.
them. So it's like, let us do our job
Right.
and let us
Mhm.
talk about your brand in a
Mhm.
very different way that
Mhm.
we think will help you with,
Mhm.
getting purchases.
Right. And of course, the hard thing is we as the business owner, the whatever, the product and services, they're our babies, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we're really afraid that you're going to say, hey, that baby's ugly.
Yes.
And of
Yeah.
course, you're going to be tactful.
Right.
But I think that really is the thing is we get so it is so personal to us that
Yes.
we don't see, okay, we're not showing this off to the best way possible.
Yeah.
Or even, how many times have we thought that doesn't look like the best feature? To me, the best feature would be X.
Yes.
But somewhere along the line they went, oh no, it's this.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's always a challenge too, because we do
mhm,
have clients where, yes, I mean, they have come to us and they're like, we need new creative, we need
mhm,
this, we need that. But then when we go to actually work on the strategy and give
mhm,
them our strategy, they're
right.
like, well, that's not how we talk about it. Like, we don't
Right.
say things
You
like
just
that.
said
And
my
it's
baby's ugly.
exactly. And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, but your baby also isn't growing either.
Right.
So it's
Mhm.
like you're stifling
Mhm.
what is
Mhm.
actually the actual
Right.
main features
Mhm.
and benefits.
Mhm.
So those are the times where we really have to kind of,
Mhm.
you know, I don't want to say like massage the way we talk
A
about
little
it, but
bit.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Mhm.
just make sure that not only are we don't want to
Mhm.
obviously offend them, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it's like you need to
Mhm.
get this to work,
Mhm.
and these are the ways that is
Mhm.
actually going to help you
Mhm.
succeed. So let
Mhm.
us test and see where it goes. It's
Mhm.
always about let us test it and
Mhm.
see if it will
Right.
work.
Mhm.
And then from there, we can
Mhm.
usually 9 times out of 10,
Mhm.
it'll work. And then they're
Mhm.
like, oh, I never thought of
Right.
doing it that way.
Mhm.
So
Right.
yeah, it definitely is.
Mhm.
It can be a challenge for
Mhm.
sure, but you have to, as an owner, you do
Mhm.
have to kind of step out of that
Mhm.
owner hat and,
Mhm.
look at the consumer hat.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And it's so funny because it is an ongoing process. You're
Yes.
never going to hit it, or usually not. I mean, every once in a while you might hit it out of the park the first time.
Right.
Normally it's we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. I was sharing before the program started that I have this initiative called Trying Not to Die.live.
Mhm.
And one of the things that we have as a product is a bear hug. And so it's this cute little bear, and then it comes with other stuff, like lip balm and temporary inspirational tattoos, all sorts of things. And so someone would buy it for someone else.
Mhm.
Is the concept behind it. So, I did what I thought was fun, creative. See, there's the other thing. And ran a Facebook ad, and we ran it for 7 days. Let's see, because I just looked at this, 803 people actually clicked. So they went to the page where you could buy the bear hug. 42 people shared it. I mean, that I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
Guess how many we sold?
How many?
One.
Yeah.
Didn't even pay for the ad, right? Now, there's probably multitude of reasons as to why it didn't sell, not the least of which might be cost, right? But yeah, because they got to the page and they went, no. Okay, so we're working on rearranging the page and all of those things. But I also knew, okay, those 803 people weren't insulting me. They just, whatever. And years ago when I was in college, I had an English professor that handed back our stuff. And this was when you still used a red pen, and they had bled all over everybody's papers. I mean, it was just this horrible, awful thing. And we're all looking at it. And they said, they're words. They're not your babies. And to me, that really was the thing was, you go, okay, well, I had 803 people and only one. So why? What do I need to do to fix that? And it's not give up.
Right.
Because that is the biggest thing is people go, well, nope, that didn't work. So I'm never doing that again.
Well, and I mean, and like you said, I mean, it could be, there's a multitude of things that it could be. A lot of times when we do have clients where we have really good click-through rates, we have a lot of people who do go to the website. From there, it's like, okay, so maybe it's not the ad, maybe it's the website. Is it the messaging? Is it the visual? From there, you can kind of like decide, okay, well, maybe like you said, like we're rearranging the page, we're, maybe updating the copy, things like that. But it's like your ads are getting people there. It's just a matter of, okay, now you have to figure out why didn't they purchase? Why didn't they, so yeah, there's definitely layers for sure. And, you have to test those layers.
Right. Well, and, we have a products page and, and you can buy t-shirts, you can buy, all sorts of stuff. And so I thought I was making it easy. We put together bundles, right? So you would get a this, a this, a this, a this, a this. And we thought, okay, we're going to make it easy. We're going to put those at the top. Well, what that meant was the most expensive things were what people saw first.
Right.
And so they never went any further on the page.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, our thought was we're going to make it easy for people. Their thought was, oh my God, that costs way too much. And they weren't even curious to go and explore further. So, but that we found out when we asked people, why didn't you buy? And they went, because I went to the webpage and freaked out at the price.
Yeah.
And I went, but there's stuff on there for $10. And they said, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they don't want to scroll, they don't want to look. Like people don't want to search. They want it right in front of their face so they can click and buy.
I wanted to reach out and whack me, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Buy me. Back to the used car salesman.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's just one of those things, like you have to make it easy for people. And if they're going to go to that website and they're going to see that information and that's the first thing that hits them in the face, they're going to be like, no, I don't want to spend that much money. I just want, I want to buy what I saw that ad, and that's what I want.
Right. Well, and speaking of that is one of the biggest mistakes that I see people do is, they advertise one thing, but when you go to their website, you can't even find it.
Right. Exactly.
Folks, it's so easy to do landing pages.
It really is. It really is. It's so simple now.
Yeah. And so if they've gone to buy, the box of chocolates, show them the box of chocolates, and then you can show them everything else. But yeah, again, we are creatures. I think, it used to say, I used to say, we have the patience of a gnat. And I think it might've been Facebook did a study that said, now consumers have the attention span of less than a goldfish.
Yes.
Now I'm kind of trying to figure out how they even figured that out. And because a goldfish goes boop, and on to the next thing, right?
Yeah.
But that really is what we do, and we might have the greatest thing in the world. I mean, like my little teddy bear might be the cutest thing in the world for somebody who is on their journey with cancer. But if I'm not selling it right, it doesn't matter in the slightest.
And they always say too, so at first it was, the first 5 seconds of an ad is what you need to watch. Then it went to 3 seconds. Now they're calling it the 0 second. Like you don't even have a second to get their attention. So if you're not getting them
Mhm.
thumbnail or,
Mhm.
you know, right when they get to
Mhm.
that, you know, ad, if
Mhm.
you're not grabbing their
Mhm.
attention, they're going to scroll right past
Right.
you. So it's
Mhm.
very much, you know, within any creative that we do, the first thing you see has to be the
Mhm.
product. We always tell our, you
Mhm.
know, creators or anything that we're doing, you have
Mhm.
to show the product immediately and you have to somehow get their attention,
Mhm.
because that first 3 seconds is still,
Mhm.
it's there.
Mhm.
But again, if it's not in
Mhm.
that 0 second,
Right.
they're just going to
Mhm.
scroll right past
Mhm.
it. Like, I mean, like I said, I have a 10-year-old daughter, and the way that she looks at things is just sometimes I'm like,
Mhm.
did you even see what you just looked
Mhm.
at? Like, you're so busy
Mhm.
scrolling past
Mhm.
everything. It's like, how do you even see
Mhm.
anything? And it's
Mhm.
interesting to watch the behaviors
Mhm.
that she does now,
Right.
because it's so fast
Mhm.
that the things that do grab
Mhm.
her attention, I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, it
Mhm.
has to be something that
Yeah.
is
Was it flashy? Was it a
right.
color? Was it a sound? Was it something? Mhm.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
what is making people
Mhm.
actually stop? Because
Mhm.
I will take the time to
Mhm.
look through my feed,
Mhm.
read things.
Right.
But
Mhm.
again, I'm also an older demographic,
Right.
whereas like the younger
And you're
demographic,
looking for great examples.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yes. So it's like I obviously consume content
Mhm.
very differently than,
Mhm.
you know, other people.
Mhm.
So it is interesting to kind
Mhm.
of, you know, see that
Mhm.
psychological behavior now of what exactly is it.
Mhm.
It is funny because it's not so much just like, it is creative, but it also is consumer behavior. Like,
Mhm.
consumer behavior has
Mhm.
changed so
Mhm.
much now that
Right.
now you have to also
Mhm.
go towards that too.
Mhm.
You have to
Mhm.
figure out like, okay, so what
Mhm.
is the consumer
Mhm.
behavior now of how people are
Mhm.
actually under, you know,
Mhm.
taking in all of
Mhm.
this data now.
Mhm.
It's crazy. There's just
Right.
it's like
Oh
there's so
yeah.
much that it's, you know,
It
it's
is definitely a science.
yeah.
And I think that's the thing that people don't understand is it is a science.
Yes.
And it comes back to a big part of it is the demographics.
Yeah.
Selling someone something to someone like me is very different than selling to someone like you and someone like your daughter, right?
Yes,
Because the
exactly.
three of us are all going to have very different, I want more information. I want,
Mhm.
all of these various things. You're going to be a little bit faster, and like you said, she's just boop 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 boop.
Yeah. And it is, and like I said, the again with the consumer behavior
Mhm.
side of it, you know, like it is a
Mhm.
strategy. It is something that you have
Mhm.
to, you know, really understand, but
Mhm.
making sure that, you know, as you're diving into those
Mhm.
things, you know, like again, like my daughter, she
Mhm.
was brought up with social
Mhm.
media.
Right.
So she understands
Mhm.
how social media works and how
Mhm.
quickly things
Mhm.
go. Whereas, like I said, like you and
Mhm.
I, yeah, I grew up with social media in
Mhm.
a sense. It had
Mhm.
just started.
Right.
So, you know, it's just a different way of how we
Mhm.
consume things and how
Mhm.
biologically like
Mhm.
we are trained to
Mhm.
actually look at
Right.
information. So
Yeah.
it is definitely
Mhm.
a science, and
Mhm.
making sure that you understand that for each
Mhm.
thing is, you
Mhm.
know,
Right.
how you need to
Mhm.
shop and how
Mhm.
you need to make your
Mhm.
ads and creatives and copy and all of that.
Mhm. Right. And the cool thing, one of the things that I have loved is seeing kind of how, because of technology and things like that, it has become much less expensive to do a lot of stuff. When I
Yeah.
started in an agency, if we wanted a photo that nobody else had anywhere, it could cost us thousands of dollars. Now
Right.
we can go to AI and have one generated, right?
Yeah.
We can also go to creatives, and I'm big on supporting all of those. But it's and we when I grew up, we had to use these big ugly video things. Now we use our cameras, right?
Yeah. Our
And
phones, yeah, the
so
easiest thing.
and so it just changes things so much. But it's what we've done is we have skipped we've thought, well, this has gotten easier, and it's actually not. Because
Yeah.
there's so much more out there, you absolutely positively have to do your homework to get in front of people.
Yeah. And it's funny too. I mean, even, you know, on the creative side, you know, again, like you said, like AI,
Mm-hmm.
AI is a whole new
Mm-hmm.
ballpark of all the things that are going
Mm-hmm.
to start happening with
Mm-hmm.
AI. I mean, we use AI in our ad creatives now
Mm-hmm.
too, with either generating images
Mm-hmm.
and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
helping our clients save money so that they don't have to pay for
Right.
these large photo
Mm-hmm.
shoots. You know, we do help with like, again, we have clients who have different languages where now we can do an AI generated voice that is a different language. It's like all these things that like, now it's learning all of those things that, yes, now you not only do you have to reach a new demographic, but like here are all these other tools now that I can use that are going to only help me. And it's I don't want to say it's getting easier, but in a sense
I think in a lot of ways it's more complicated.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because we as the consumer, maybe we're getting jaded.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe I've been doing this for too long.
It was interesting. So last week was the Met Gala, right? And so all these people with their really, really fancy clothes. One of the images that started floating around was what Katy Perry wore.
Oh, yes. And it was AI
and
generated.
She wasn't even there. Yeah, it was 100% AI. And so, I think that's going to be something that people are really looking at is, now I'm really going to date myself right here. Is it real or is it Memorex? Right? Which is it live or has it been pre-recorded? I mean, that was basically what that was saying. And so, is this real or has it been computer generated? And does it make a difference?
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, they had that whole, now there's that whole trend too of AI generated influencers. So there's been that whole uptick too, where people are like, I mean, yes, it can get dodgy in that sense. Whereas like I don't know, it's interesting because there's some things that we've looked at that I'm like, oh, that's totally AI generated. Like, you could just tell, and then there's other stuff where you're like, whoa, like that's actually very like spot on and kind of scary how real it looks.
Right.
So I mean, I guess in a sense, like it's complicated in that way, where you just don't know. But I guess like on our side, it does make things a little bit easier in like that sense of just like helping and, making things a little bit easier.
Oh yeah. I use it every day. And even if it's just, hey, I wrote this sentence. And rather than, killing a whole bunch of brain cells and thinking it over, I just put it into Chat GPT and I say, rewrite.
Right.
Half the time I go, woo, cool. Half the time I go, right. But, it's just, it's probably 75% of the time I go, hey, that's much better.
Yeah.
But I had to come up with it first. That's the thing.
And that's always the thing too, even with AI is that, a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to take my job away. And to me, I'm like, it won't, because you still need those people who they have to generate the prompts. They have to be the ones who are thinking of it. The AI doesn't think about it for you. You have to tell it what to do. So, a lot of times like people are like, is AI going to steal this and this? And it's like, I think it'll just help you. I don't think it's necessarily going to take it away from you.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, Lauren, this has been so much fun. And we are at the top of the hour. Tell us, for the people who went, okay, I know I need to do this, but I don't have the brain cells to do it. So tell us a little bit more about the Loft 325 and how to find you and what are the services that you provide.
Yeah, so we are, again, the loft325.com. All of my handles are at the loft325. And, really we focus on performance creative for, e-commerce brands, small and large. We work with small brands and agencies. And with all of our packages, we have something that can help you, whether it's remixing content that you already have or shooting new content that you currently need. We do all of it for you. So we have a great team of editors, strategists who are, working with us. And so love to work with anyone from the show.
Cool. I love it. I love it. Well, this really has been absolutely fascinating, and we will have to chat again because we've just scratched the surface on this. And like we said, it's always changing. Yeah. So it'll be fun to talk about this again. But do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Yeah, I mean, everything that I always say, creative is key. Creative is always going to help you no matter what. So I would honestly just leave it at that.
Cool. I love it. I love it. Well, I am Deb Creer. I've been having so much fun speaking with Lauren Schwartz of the Loft 325. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.